welcome back to PA Chalk Up. I'm your host Manny, and today we have Antwann. Hi Antwann, how are we doing?
Doing well. How about you?
I'm good. So if you just let us know who you are, what you do, and how you got to where you are.
All right. So I'm the head strength and conditioning coach at Wade Hampton High School, located here in Greenville, South Carolina, and I'm also the head strength and conditioning coach at 1111 Elite Training. My background in strength conditioning really started when I was a high school athlete. I was a guy that was fortunate enough to go play college football at the Division I level, and then I transferred, played at a high level Division II school as well, and I also had a stint to play a National Arena League football. But what kind of helped me get to the point to be a high level athlete was the fact that I spent a lot of time in strength conditioning. I was fortunate to have good strength and conditioning coaches throughout my whole career. So when I say it starts in high school, I mean my first strength coach, I had a weightlifting class, and he was a CSCS, NSCA sponsored like strength coach. The next coach we had was CSCS. Got to college, obviously have a bunch of CSCS. So my journey, I spent a lot of time as a high school athlete, trying to figure out like how can I make myself better. There would be days where I'd be in like our hallways at Wade Hampton High School. So another story is the high school that I'm the strength conditioning for coach for I actually went to. There'd be days I would go back after school and I'd be setting up cones, doing these drills, doing these jumps. And I had a teammate one time like walk by and says, "Would you do this as a job?" At the time, strength conditioning was a thing, but it wasn't like as big as it is now. And I think that kind of like gave me a click, like, oh, I can actually make money, training people and doing something that I love. And being a strength coach, most of us were, we're thicker built people, shorter people, pretty strong. And I was in that same mold, and I was decently athletic, wasn't the most athletic, but what helped me a lot was that strength portion. And now, me being on the back end of my athletic career being over, now I'm trying to flip my mindset, being more athletic. Because now I look back, like, what if I had spent more time working on athleticism more so than just trying to be a strong weight room guy. So when I got to college, my both degrees, bachelor's and master's, are in exercise science. And I'm so thankful for the two programs that I was in, Gardner Webb University and Lenore Ryan University. They were true exercise science programs. It wasn't just, we want you to pass the CSCS. It was, we want you to be able to go out and coach. We want you to be able to go out and do cardiopulmonary rehab. We want you to be able to go do all these things. So there was a lot of application into it. So I'm forever grateful, because I know there's many people that do graduate with an exercise science degree and they feel like they're lost. They get to a job and they're like deer in the headlights. But for me, I was prepared step by step every single day to go and do what I do. I wouldn't change my job for the world. Like I love what I do. I love the athletes I train. They're family to me. They mean everything to me. So next week, with it being our 4th of July week, and through the high school league we have to have a dead week, I will be without 10 of my athletes for a week, and I don't know what I'm gonna do next week. But that's just a little bit of my background.
You've kind of had the same experience as me in terms of the culture that you got brought up with in the strength and conditioning realm has been so positive that it makes you want to go out and have that same positive impact on the athletes that you're coaching now. That's sick to see.
I mean, definitely, because one thing I try to tell every single athlete that I have is that the strength conditioning aspects, the weight room, the field work, the mobility, that's the one place where all you have to do is try.
Mhm.
There's no talent to it. Doesn't matter doesn't matter where you've been came from. Doesn't matter who you know. It's what work can you put in to get to where you want to get to. That resonates a lot for me. I'm an undersized athlete. I was able to play Division I football. I'm only 5'8". I left high school 5'8", 185, and I was going to play outside linebacker at Division I level. That doesn't just happen. It was just kind of I put my head down, I went to work, and I just didn't let anybody deny that from me. And the attitude that I try to get to everybody we train with is like, I don't control what you get to do on the field, but in this room, if you just maximize every single opportunity, you give yourself a better chance to produce on the field.
100%. You said something that I kind of disagree with, as if you spent a little bit more time working on the athleticism rather than the strength and the conditioning side of it. I disagree with that because as athletes, we need to think about our foundations. Our
Hmm.
foundations is strength, is power, is speed. That's where everything athletics wise comes through. Yes, there's genetics, and there's this argument of how much genetics does it. Very important, but you can also develop these things. So I think it'll be in a little bit hard on yourself in the terms of you did the best that you could for the position that you were in.
Oh yeah, I mean,
So
I'm
don't
with
dwell
you on
on
that.
that too much.
I'm not on that. I'm not anti weight room. I'm not anti strength. I just, I think for me, I missed out in high school doing all the speed, doing all the change direction, doing all the jumps because I focused more on strength. I,
Ah, okay.
as a junior in high school, I was able to do junior high school 185 pounds. I was benching 225 for 10 reps already. So that's 16 years old. So if
That's
I
not bad.
maybe if I take that attitude I took to the weight room, I went and did more sprints without like gassing myself or
Mm.
learned about the art of sprinting. That's more so me. Yes, I'm with you. I arguments we get into right now with strength conditioning, like, oh, you're a max strength guy, you're a speed guy. Like, I'm. What do we need? What works? Like I had a conversation with Simply Faster I did in last summer,
Mhm.
and it was, we talk about power, we talk about velocity, we talk about all this and that. But like I said, the basis of that is strength. I can't get to if I have a sports car and it goes 160 miles per hour, but if I drive it in a downtown area, I'll never get to it. So the
Mhm.
same thing. We need to train that whole force velocity curve. I need the bar to move slow. I need the bar to move fast. I need it to be unweighted. I need it to be weighted. That's kind of how our schedule set up. So for me, we work a 4 day split. That's the way I want it to be. Sometimes I go
Mm.
three. Sometimes five. It just depends on the schedule and what sports and
How
who I
much
have.
contact time do you have with your athletes?
For the private sector, we're Monday through Thursday. That's and I work with the high school, college, and the adult athlete group. So I get them for an hour. It's 4 days a week. And my school setting, the one I have general athlete class. I have a two general population classes, and then one athlete based. So for this upcoming school year, my first semester athlete based class is wrestling, basketball, and then female athletes. Our wrestling coach and basketball coach like to have them to do skill specific stuff. So I'm switching that to almost working a 5 day template. It'll be off the
Mm.
tier system. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday will be our main tiers, and those will be the days that the basketball and wrestlers will be with us. And then those Tuesday, Thursdays, I'll focus more
Total
auxiliary type
buckets.
lifts. With my general population classes, they're similar to the 11-11 facility setup. So Monday through Thursday, Friday I like to maybe do mobility, maybe do a game, maybe do a free day. So that 4 day split, what it looks like is our Monday is our acceleration, and I paired it up with our max lower lift. Our go to is front squat. I just like it. I have no bias on if you want a front squat, back
Not
squat.
bad.
I love the front squat, especially being somebody that I like to have the guys clean, the girls clean. Only people I don't have clean are our baseball and softball players. Every other sport cleans.
Is
I
there a
like to
reason?
pair. Just because they get a little cranky in the elbow and the wrist a little bit, and just to
Okay.
avoid
Like an
the
over-usage type deal.
yeah, just to avoid any issue. And then most times, as once I get them in high school, they've been hearing their whole life that your wrist and elbow and shoulders cranky, and it's like just to avoid the whole fight of let's just go
Mhm.
ahead and just clean. Let's do bar jumps instead of cleans. Um, so I paired up the acceleration day with the max lower body day because acceleration is just overcoming your own body weight. So if I can increase my peak force or my max strength, I should my acceleration should improve just a little bit more. So that max strength day is going to be bars moving slow. I'm going to work between 75% and 90% on that max lower day. Um, Going into a Tuesday, what it looks like, we're going more into a change of duration focus. I want to work 0 degrees on a cut, 45 degrees on a cut, and then work our frontal planes, so our shuffles, our crossovers, and I'll pair
Can
that.
you explain how you've broken that down and the type of drills that you're implemented in those?
So the 0 and 45, I got those from the guys at Elon. I forget their names. That the way they set up their change direction stuff. So 0 degrees working straight back, so straight ahead, come straight back. 45 degrees working back at an angle. We'll start off in the early off season or early training. We'll work. All right, one step, come back. All right, 3 steps, take it back. All right, let's go 5 yards now. All right, let's go 10 yards now. I'll pair it up with a decel. Uh, go 5 yards, come back, decel. All right, go 5 yards, come back, then go back 0, decel. Now as we get closer and closer, then I'll start combining our movements. So I'll go 0 degrees, 45. Any way that I'm just working that hard angle cut. That 0 degree, 45. Those are the harder cuts to make. Um, and then our frontal plane work. That's just gonna be, like I said, true shuffles, true crossovers. Thing about working in the high school population, a lot of kids, they don't understand how to crossover run. Sometimes they don't even understand how to shuffle or what it should really look like. You see a lot of the heel clicking. I mean, but you can't really. If what I try to tell them is like, you want your feet under your hips when you shuffle. Anytime you get your feet, I always had a coach. Anytime you get your feet touching together at the same time, it's probably not going to end up very well for you if you have to change direction at a moment's notice. So to try to have them,
Right.
really, really, really stressed, even working tempo. All right, let's tempo on the shuffle. All right, as we get good at the shuffle, now let's shuffle into a sprint. Let's shuffle back. Let's shuffle here, crossover, run back, sprint again. The thing about the change direction, which I love, but which I also hate, is that change direction is 360 degrees. It's
Mhm.
literally impossible to prepare your athletes for everything they
Every
could
single
go
angle.
against. As but which allows you to be creative, but what then holds me back is that I'm almost a perfectionist. So I'm like, well, what if they have to do this? What if they do that? Then I end up with an hour and a half change of direction day. So I try to be, I try to have it scripted out. Like, all right, we want to do this, we want to do this, do this. All right, cool, check that box. And also we work our starts in that same direction. So if I'm working 0 degrees, I want to work a start that's going 0 degrees. A start that works 45 degrees. And we'll do our plyos in that same direction. So we'll do
Mhm.
0 degree jumps, 45 degree jumps. Getting to the
So
weight.
do you have that velocity and essentially like explosive movements all in that same day?
So I will. We jump. Well, I say. Let me say this. We're gonna do some type of jump every single day, but
Okay.
our jumps are gonna be in the direction we're working in. So on the day like Monday when we're doing our acceleration, that's gonna be our more horizontal based plyo. So your broad jumps, your power skips for distance. Um, and then when I go to, like I said, then going to the next day. Now let's work a lateral bound. Let's work a power crossover. So what I like to do, if I want to be working forward, I want to spend that day where everything we do is forward. If I want to go change the direction, I want to make sure everything that we do that day is change direction based.
Yeah.
I have been in situations before where I've done a 3 day lift, 2 days of change direction speed, and I kind of follow the same templates. I start off with speed being I would say the priority for that day out to go our plyo warm up, our plyos, speed work, change direction, and that's just how it flowed. Right now, I'm really loving this 4 day template because it gives us like almost like a sniper like focus on what we have to do for that day rather than being like, all right, what's next? What's next? What's next? Now I think my athletes kind of figure out, all right, this is kind of flow things. And once we get used to a movement, then I'll progress it. I mean, because even trying to teach a high school kid how to power skip that sometimes can take about
Hmm.
4 weeks.
20 minutes.
Yeah, so,
Impressive.
so um, it's just been exciting, kids to see in progress too. You know, getting a little bit of coordination base. So I
Yeah,
want
I think that's when it clicks for them as well when they start seeing, oh, actually, this is making me and allowing me more movement, so I can do this. I think creating those links for them as well creates that not just buy-in, but their ability to be like, okay, let me put more effort in because the more effort I put in, the more I get out.
Hey, I mean, like I'm lucky that my a lot of my best athletes are actually some of my hardest workers. When you
Mm,
when you get a guy that's starts school year off, slightly kind of skinny, good athlete, but now he's patting on some muscle and now he can dunk off of one leg. If you're the guy that's behind him, you're like, oh, all right, this works. So it kind of
Yes.
it helps when you have a lot of great athletes. Our lift on that Tuesday is going to look like the bar's going to move a little bit faster. We're going to start off with some type of Olympic press movement, whether it be a jerk, push press. I'll do some landmine stuff. Anything where the bar moves fast, and then we'll also do our med ball throws on that day as well. And then after that, we'll go into bench variation as we get closer and closer to the end of a block, well, an end of a program or phase, we'll start to have the bar move a little bit faster. But so starting off, I may go a floor press or incline bench if I'm working more of a hypertrophy type phase. But if I get to where I'm working more of a speed, I might do a dynamic effort bench. I might do a single arm bench, and that'll also be paired with the mid ball throw. And our finisher, we always go a pull circuit. I'm big on the posterior chain, so any pull, that's my favorite thing to work. We work 4 different pulls. We'll work 2 vertical, 2 horizontal, and we'll finish up with some anti-rotation and rotation on that Tuesday.
Posterior chain for me is so strength is always the foundation, but strength in the posterior, that's where everything starts clicking for everyone. As well as you can only sprint as fast as your hamstrings allow you.
For sure.
So if your hamstrings are trash because you don't work them, you might be very fast, but you're not going to be fast for very long.
Yes,
Everything
sir.
starts with posterior.
Yes, I
Everything.
always I always tell when I get new athletes at the beginning of the year, I was like, one thing about you all said we don't really train for hypertrophy much as an athlete. I was like, looks kind of come. I was like, but your posterior chain, I said that's the one area where I'm like, I want you to have big traps, big calves, big hamstrings. Like I want you to see that the backside of your body got bigger from all the volume
Mhm.
because we do. If I were to count the volume, I want to say maybe 60% of our work is on the backside. 60 to 75%, I say is on the backside, and they know
Yep.
it too. They'll look up on the monitor. They'll be like 3x12 on RDL. Yes, yeah.
Yes, sir. um, you have probably not experienced a lot of posterior chain injuries though.
We that's that another piece of that's kind of as a strength coach that's good is not many soft tissue injuries. Um, the the thing that's the hardest for me to combat is that our high school athletes just do so much,
Hmm.
and it's to get to that next level, it's to get to college. But it's like I want you to be healthy for college, and I want you to do this. There's nothing you can really do as a strength coach because I mean this the model of sport we have in the United States for our sports besides football is is year round play. It's you have to go to this tournament, this tournament, this tournament, and I think the MLB this year was speaking of how many UCLs they're having in young pitchers, and it's like yeah, because they've been throwing every weekend since they were 8,
Hmm.
and now they're 24 with UCL having UCL issues.
So I was mentored by Coach Ron McKeefery,
Hmm.
and he has this saying where we're 10% of what an athlete does. We have to mitigate what they do the rest of the 90%.
Hmm.
So they've got 90% to fuck everything up. We have to control those 90 with the 10% that we have.
Yep. And I had that conversation the other week, because our guys right now they're doing 7 on 7. Some of them are playing basketball right now. They're coming to work out with me, and I was telling them I was like, they were like, Coach, I've a lot less reps. I'm like, which I'm trying to control what you don't feel right now.
Mhm.
I was like, you don't feel your CNS to it right now, but I know it is. I said, because if we would have sprinted today, I said, you may have ran your best time ever. I was like, but that next day, it may be the day you got sick or hurt.
Yep.
I was like, so I'm
And
I'm
that's the
trying to do
thing
my
as well. When you push as hard as you can one day, that next day you're going to lag. And if you've got school as well that next day, and you've got tests and you've got homework and you've got
mhm,
90 other percent things that happen during your day, that session day after, you're just like, yeah, let's
yep.
tame it down a little bit.
So when we get to exam week, I have to cut all volume. I have to cut the lifting volume. I have to cut the sprinting volume. I mean, we were doing 40-minute workouts.
Mm,
Obviously, if somebody were to come and observe me, that looks terrible. But I mean, I rather you be upset with me that they're sitting down than me having kids sick and getting injured. So that's just another thing you have to fight. And then also which is a great thing, at my situation, all of our athletes. They are the athletes. Like we don't have many single sport athletes. So our football players our basketball team. Our basketball teams
Hmm.
are track. Our cross country girls also play soccer. Our track and field team does it. So it's a great problem to have. And as like, all right, what I need is I try to control everything that I can. But if you go to track practice and you have to run 10 200s, and then I have you the next day, you're supposed to run 3 20 10 flies. We're kind of combating each other, and we're not making you better. We're just having you stay at the same point, or maybe even getting worse.
So how do you then program to make sure that they're not getting overused but still being coached and trained for all these different elements of their sports?
The biggest thing I've tried to do is trying to get and see what does a practice actually look like,
Mm,
or having a background of a sport, or understanding like you know if you have a relationship with your athletes, they'll kind of tell you. I mean, they'll come in and be like, Coach, we did this and that yesterday, and most times I almost lose my mind because that's probably shouldn't have done that yesterday. But then it just becomes like, okay, let's adjust. If you had to track me last night, let's not sprint today. If you threw 80 pitches last night, we probably should take today off. Let's go and do the pitcher recovery. So it's just knowing the building a relationship with the athletes to where they're honest with you about how they feel. I mean, I don't have anybody come that's trying to skip out of work because they've seen the value in everything.
mm,
So they'll let me know, Coach. I did this, Coach. This happened, Coach. We got in trouble last night, so we ran all practice. So like, so
oh,
this having that relationship to where they feel open. But what's helped me a lot is that I actually did not become like athlete until really late. My first sport I ever participated in was actually track and field. I didn't start that till I was 11, 12 years old, and I didn't get involved in football till I was 13. But what I did a lot was as a kid, I wanted to be an athlete, but I just never had the opportunity to. So, so I got to learn like all these sports, like just watching, like going on
mm,
YouTube, looking at go watch wrestling, go watch basketball, go watch all these things, so you get an understanding of what all they're going through. So for me,
yeah,
one of my teams that's big that I train, I just actually started with them last week that I'll train through the rest of the season is the cheerleading team. A cheerleading practice is intense. Especially those competitive cheerleaders that they're trying to go win a championship. Those practices are not like light. They're not just in there just shaking pom poms. They're throwing people. They're jumping around. They're landing. They're landing extremely hard. So for me, with the cheerleaders, when they come do in season lifting, I still want to touch that power aspect because we still need to be powerful athletes. But I'm gonna make that load a little bit heavier, so they're not getting as far off the ground. We're gonna do a little bit more, maybe more landing than I'm doing actually jumping. I'm
mm,
gonna do things to try to take care of them. Still getting to work that power emphasis without adding extra stress. So
yeah.
that understanding of the sport is going to be huge for any type of monitoring.
Mm. With the sort of different sports and having same athletes play for different sports, how important for you is that communication between you and the coaches, and how much communication do they actually feed into you?
all of my all of my I hate to say my main teams, but that's what I'm gonna say. All of my main teams, their coaches have have a really good relationship with me. So the coaches will even text me and saying like, "Hey, I kind of pushed them a little bit yesterday. Do you think we should do this?" Which we just hired a new football coach, and one thing that kind of won me over was he texted me one week and was like, "Coach, they did this. What do you think we should do?" And like
Mm,
that's huge because in the football American football world, most times the head football coach like it's what I want to do. We're going to be a tough team. I don't care if you're tired. I don't care this. And for him to reach out and say, "Hey, what do you think we should do?" And I was like, "Well, coach, actually, I was actually already planning that we should do this, but the fact that you reached out and asked me, now I know that I can go forward with taking this time off, but also just letting them know that I'm here to help them. Like nobody gets to see what we do as strength coaches. So
mm,
if they go win a state championship, they'll talk about how great you did as a coach, and I'm going to support that. But we're behind the scenes, trying to make sure everybody's healthy, making sure everybody can make it through a full season. One
100%.
of the
That's why. I really love the relationship between Coach DeBoer and Coach Mack, where Coach DeBoer put so much emphasis on the strength and conditioning side for the UW and now Alabama team
Hmm.
that everything that Coach Mack does, Coach DeBoer fully supports because it's worked everywhere they've been. So I 100% agree. Like he gives Coach Mack the freedom to do whatever he wants to do because he knows it works. And I think that's kind of the same situation that you're in, which is awesome to see as well.
I mean, like when I speak at the coaches meetings in the fall and the spring, I always tell them I was like whatever biases we have or whatever we thought as athletes or as coaches, I'm like it really doesn't matter. I like because our playing career is over. I was like it's not about if you like me. It's not about if I like you. It isn't about if you lift it every day of your life. It's not about if you hate the weight room. I'm like we need to do whatever's going to get them to progress. Whatever's going to get them to
100%.
winning games. What's going to get your best players on the field, what's going to get your worst players on the field, what's going to get you to have success. So putting yourself aside is the biggest thing. I mean, I was when I first started off as a strength coach, I was 22, 20, 21. I mean, the workouts I used to write were like I could have hurt somebody. Like they were 3 hours
Mhm.
long. So it's like, and now like I don't mind if I have a lift that lasts 30 minutes. If we were high quality the entire time, if we got everything done that we needed to get done, that's it. Like I tell them all the time, like I'm quality. I don't need you to be here for an hour and a half. If we get everything we need in an hour, perfect. If we took all the rest we needed, perfect. If you got every single rep done in a high quality, good. That means we're
Yeah.
moving efficiently.
I think as well, you touched on when you were introducing yourself, it's that practical science. And it's great reading textbooks and be like, oh yeah, strength you need 5 minutes rest. Power you need anywhere between
Mhm.
2 to 3 minutes. Cool. You can do that all you want. But those sessions are going to be 3 hours long.
Yes.
Athletes don't have that time. They've got school, they've got homework, they've got so many other different things. So you can get by giving them 30 seconds here and there. Work different muscles.
Yep.
Push, pull, posterior chain, anterior. You can do so many different variations of that, all targeting different muscles. So while one's working, other one's resting.
Uh-huh.
That's how I like to see programs as well because you can have them there for 3 hours, but you can just do as much if not more in 45 if you balance these workouts that way.
And I was kind of thinking about this yesterday. I was listening to Move the Needle. I was listening to their podcast, and I forgot what they were talking about, but what kind of resonated with me. I was kind of thinking is like the way I feel as a strength coach. I want to get the best amount of work done in the least amount of time. Like there's
100%.
what like I know you always hear those stories of well, I was coaching 100 hours a week. I was coaching. I was like, why?
Why?
Yeah, why? Like, what were you doing within that 100 hours? Like everybody wants this. Like, well, I grinded. I did this and that. Is like, but you don't have to. I'm able to do so many different things. Like but because I've understanding the time frame, understanding the quality. There was a day in the spring which I would probably never let this happen again. I had to train 6 teams in 40 minutes. and I,
Damn.
and I was like, okay, let's figure out how it can work. Okay, like, I was like, let me bring the female teams in first. They roll, 20 minutes, roll through, got everything done like we need to get done. All right, guys teams roll in. All right, you guys train, do what you need to, get in, get out. And our in season football list, I get 30 minutes. You go on the whistle, come in, find a spot, warm up, do our prep, boom, right down the list. All right, good, ready to go to practice. So becoming efficient as a strength coach, that's going to be your best friend because we have a job where it can last hours. If you let it take you some hours, it will. So if you can
Hmm.
find a way to find that sweet spot for your schedule, that's
I
find it.
think I think a big thing is ego as well. Like strength coaches love to think that they're the end all be all of that athlete's career.
Hmm.
And like we kind of have to be realistic, although we see them probably more than their sports coach. We also have to be like, okay, we actually don't have that much of importance in terms of how much they play and how much they do. So let's really focus on and on what they need and push them out because they need to practice. And having that thing where, okay, cool, I can do a 3 hour session, but if I can get 45 in and they can rest until their next practice,
Mhm.
I would much rather that.
I mean, I was talking to, I had a guy come shadow me yesterday, and he looks at the board and it's like 2 sets of 2, 2 sets of 4, and I was like, oh, this is our deload week. I said, so what happens a lot? We'll get a new client in the facility, and they'll come on that deload week, and it's like, y'all doing a set of 2? Yeah, you missed the fives and the eights, and yeah,
Mhm.
we all that's adding up. Trying to take care of you. That's the biggest
Load
thing.
management is key.
Yeah,
And
it's taking care
I
taking care of you.
100%. I did a seminar thing in Italy a couple last month, and I pretty much spent a whole hour on load management and how to best manage athletes' loads. And it essentially comes from being very anal with everything that they're doing. If they spend 2 hours on the pitch, okay, if you don't have GPS, that's fine. You can just like kind of see where they're running the whole time, where they're not, where they're
Mhm,
running fast, where they're running slow. Okay, let's take that into account and let's work backwards. If they did that, I need to prep or mitigate some of the onsets that happen from that. So let's work on slow eccentrics, slow isometrics, just to combat that high intensity loads that they're putting out. Let's take a step back and go from there. So load management for me is a big thing.
yeah, and like you said, it goes back to what you're talking about, ego. Like, why do you need them to? Why do you need them to be 100% today, 110% on bench today? Why do you? What are you getting out of it? Like, if they're already beat up, we're not getting anything out of it. We're if anything, we're beating them up more.
Hmm.
We're just wasting more
It's like
time.
kicking up when you're down. Yep.
Yeah.
No, again, it's. I think this is going to sound weird to say, but strength and conditioning and coaching is easy. It's easy.
Oh, for
If you
sure.
have common sense, like okay, they're running really fast today. Let me not put plyos and high speed stuff in the gym tomorrow. Let
Uh-huh.
me focus on something else. Like it makes sense. One thing that I learned while I was at UW, which is so simple, but I'd never thought about it until I was there. And this was Coach Fink. He was like, he was programming. I was like, oh, what's your methods of programming? What do you like think about? And he was like, well, I need my athletes to be balanced. I was like, obviously. And he was like, do you know how you do that? I was like, yeah, just look at what their sport, do the counter movements, do whatever their movement, make them stronger. He's like,
Mhm.
okay, but what about your pushes and pulls? I was like, what do you mean? Like, well, I need all my pushes to equal my pulls. I was like, yeah, that makes fucking sense. But like, I wasn't aware of it. I was like, yeah, that does make sense. If I push, I need to pull. If I push, I need to pull. And I was like, so he sent me like this whole textbook on where he got this method, and I was like, that took my programming so much further.
Uh-huh.
And it's just having that thing where you're learning from these coaches who are at the pinnacle of their
For sure.
career, and you're just like they're just drip feeding you all this information, and you have to be a sponge.
Oh, for sure. That man, that's why I love to, get to connect with a coach, get to, even like what we're doing right now, like we're connecting right now, like getting to learn like what you do when you learn what I do. I mean, 'cause sometimes what I've come to think about is a lot of times the strength coaches, the ones that are pretty high level strength coaches or pretty good strength coaches, we're all doing about the same thing. It just
Mhm.
becomes it may be a piece here that you can pick up, a piece here that you can pick up, and that can be all the difference for your programming.
100%. I always say that, and I'm not even scared to admit this. This podcast is very selfishly for me. Like, I love speaking to coaches and connecting. I just like putting it out there for everyone to watch.
Uh-huh.
Like, we do this so much as coaches. Like, we'll sit down and just talk about it, talk about different programming elements, different little tweaks that we make. Like, and I always revert back to this example. I can use a squat for building post like hamstrings, quads, but you can use it for core control, like keeping that
Uh-huh.
Olympic band like tight, keeping your balsamic maneuver tight. That could be why you do it. I could be looking from a muscle standpoint. But if we connect these both and we're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
let's build a squat for this reason.
Yeah, man. I just like with. like I always speak about like the strength coaches I had and the guys I got to learn from like after college. Like I mean I owe them everything. Like the cool thing about being a strength and conditioning coach and being around and having been an athlete is that like I became like a, a sponge to everybody. Like I like you see me, but you really get to see like Curtis Whaley, you get to see Trent Caldwell, you get to see Andre Bernardi, you get to see all these strength coaches I had. You get to see that exemplified as one person. And, and that for them, they're a conglomeration of all the guys that influence them.
Mhm.
And I mean, I hope as I get older, there's another strength coach out there. He's like, oh well, Antwann McCray is one of the people I learned from. It just creates this, this brotherhood, this friendship of among strength conditioning coaches because our field is great, but our field can also be
Mhm.
extremely toxic, which is what drives me crazy. It's like what are we really competing about? What are we
Mhm.
really arguing about? Because a lot of times what I see in arguments in strength conditioning is like this what you're arguing about doesn't even work for the other person's situation. So like for me, I was thinking about this today. You listen to all the, talking about acceleration and talking about, and I love resistance sprinting. At 11:11, I have the ability to, do resistance sprinting because I have sleds. At Wade Hampton High School, I do not have the ability to do resistance
Mhm.
sprinting. So if somebody were to come watch my session, or if I were to post a speed session, here comes a coach. Oh, you didn't do any resistance sprinting. Well, I would do resistance sprinting if I had a way to. And then we have a hill, but you know what I have to do for the hill? I have to walk around this gate, unlock it, get my whole class out, put them on the
Mhm.
hill. We have to run the hill. Then I got to get them back inside, lock the gate, let them back inside, and then hopefully everybody walk back inside with me at the same time, and I didn't leave a kid outside. And at that point, I lost 40 minutes of a training session. So,
Mhm. No,
so
I agree. The thing is, like, as well is like we were speaking about this how long it takes to do a session. The most valuable lesson I learned is set up everything before the session,
uh-huh,
like I'm talking about day before, so that when the kids get to the session,
uh-huh,
they run through the session,
uh-huh,
and that's it. Everything's set up. The squat set up, the floor set up, the
uh-huh.
mats, the cowbells, whatever else is in that session is set up. They go boom, 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 out. That's
Yep,
it.
yep,
Everything's set up. Everything's ready to go. Let's rock and roll. Next session, same again. Like at UW, we had two sessions in the gym, one session on the field. As interns, during the field session where Coach Mac would go out with them, we were in the gym hanging back, setting up again for the next session.
yep.
I had the return to play guys, so I would have to set up their session as soon as I finished the main session, set their stuff up, run through it, go back, set up with the rest of the interns, and then go through the session. So there's so much that you have to think about, and it's not just let's be in this moment, let's be in the moment, but let's think about what's coming up as well.
I mean, that's why I like to program actually in my office at Hampton because it's sometimes it's easy to forget what you actually have and how much room you have. And I mean, I did it a few weeks ago. I wrote a program, obviously not thinking like I'm just excited, like oh yeah, this is great, this makes
Mm,
sense. Then I get, they're all up there. We're looking at the monitor. I'm like, all right, this is what we got. And I was like, actually, you can't do that because you're using the bar right now for this. I was like, Coach McCray made a mistake. I was like, give me a second. Let me alter that real fast.
I think that's one of our biggest strengths as well is making mistakes while they're watching us make a mistake. I
And
think
I don't hide them either. I let them know. Like I I
I
messed it
fucked
up.
up.
Yep. Because that what one thing I'm learning about, especially like the high school and even the college, if you're honest about when you mess up,
Mhm.
they can be like, all right, well, he's a real guy. Like he's a real coach. If I mess up, I can tell him I messed up because he admits that that was a mistake. That's my fault. There was a day I want to say it was around 2 weeks ago, and so with our front squat day, I pair up a long ground contact jump and then a
Mhm.
horizontal jump. So I think this day we were doing depth jumps for our skilled guys, and I think after they were going to a double broad jump, and we do our reps on the whistle. All right, so one's up, boom, one's go. All right, go through your jumps. And I was like, what is like I'm living I'm like smoke's probably coming out my ears because I'm getting pissed and because people aren't like ready to squat. And then something's like, Coach McCray, you wrote for them to do 5 reps on squat, then and
Mhm.
depth jump and double broad jump. and your room's not that big, so it's kind of gonna take me a minute to actually get that done. And I was like, you know what? You're right.
You're
I
right.
actually need to calm down. I was like, at least
100%.
you're doing it.
Yeah. And the thing as well is like when you make mistakes in front of them, they get to see that human side of you. They'll be like, oh, okay, he's not a robot. And we had this thing at UW where if we messed up, and I've carried this over to what I do now, like if I mess up, I'll do a down up.
I
If
do.
they
I do the
mess
same
up,
thing.
they do a
Uh,
down up.
I learned that from Coach Bernardi at Furman. We called it a reset.
Yeah.
So, yep. So I do the same thing. I was like, they were like, and then sometimes I try not to do it. Like, Coach, nope, you you always one. Yep.
You always won. Yep. Um, I kind of wanted to touch on your athletic career as well.
Uh-huh.
How has that sort of helped you see where they need to be, where they need to go, and effectively program for them to keep climbing up in their athletic careers?
All right. So what I kind of answer about this in two parts. So for me, uh, I went as an outside linebacker. What helped me in high school was that I was stronger than everybody, and as a Division One athlete, you tend to be a little bit faster than everybody. So coming out of high school running a 4.740, as a high school athlete, that's kind of moving. But you get
Mm,
to college and there's 4.4s and 4.3s and 4.5s. It's a little bit different, and then everybody's strong. So it's like, all right, what can I do to prepare you for everything? So I want to my biggest philosophy, like for me, is like I want to develop the total athlete. Like I want you to be coordinated. I want you to be fast. I want you to be strong. I want you to be able be mobile. That's another thing. I went to college. I wasn't very mobile. Like I was stiff. I didn't move like as smooth as I wanted to. Like so that kind of hindered me a little bit. And then understanding like the play and the style of way sports are going now. Sports are kind of going to more so now, but like a finesse kind of thing. You don't really see. There's not many like brutes anymore. I mean, when you look at a guy like Giannis. I mean, yeah, he's 6'10" and heavy, but I mean that guy moves swift around the court. Or you look at how basketball is going positionless, or you look at how um, the build of soccer players. You look at the build. Athletes are now getting a little bit swifter, a little bit, like I said, a little bit more finesse. But that doesn't say that these athletes still aren't strong. They're still very strong athletes. So you have to go and develop these total athletes while explaining to them, all right, this is where you're at. This is what you need from right now. I mean, we have a running back who he's not a heavy guy, but for him, I was like, what'll help you more is because you the body type, you're built like you're a thicker built kid. We need to we your strength is gonna be one of your gifts. You're not a slow kid. We're gonna work that speed, but I also need you to be a little bit more powerful. So instead of us trying to run around guys, we're running through guys. Um so for
filling up buckets.
Yep. So looking at where do we need you to be? Um, so for me, when I got to Gardner Webb, when I got to college football, I was around the kind of weird time where it was still that old school like lift heavy kind of thing, and as I kind of went through, I kind of transitioned to more so that kind of speed thing. So getting to Gardner Webb, or the position I was playing as spur linebacker, was more so seen as it was a bigger body. So the guy that was starting there my freshman year, he ended up going to the Canadian League as a defensive end. So that lets you know, like, he was a pretty big guy. But as the years got on, my coach would say, what's preventing you from getting on the field is actually, I want the speed of play. And what did I do? Not thinking, oh, let me gain some weight. That doesn't work. He said, speed of play. And I said, oh, okay, gain weight. All right. So then I got too heavy. So what I ended up having to transition to was, going to the offensive side of the ball, being a blocking back, being a fullback, H back, where now I don't have to react. Now I'm working off my speed. Now I can win. I can win early. My strength and that speed that I'm not as fast as I was when I was in high school, but the speed that I still have in the tank a little bit. Now I'm able to, just display that immediately instead of having to, almost slow play things. Now I'm able
Mm.
to just go, boom, and now you're able to feel everything that I have, the full contact, full power. But also getting to be a college athlete. Obviously, there's a talent portion to it. I I I came out the womb coordinated. I came out the womb strong. I came out the womb with the ability to run a 4.7, to be able to jump over 30, things like that. So yeah, that helps. So now, what I've come to realize is now when we look at athleticism, I think we forget to mention the coordination aspect of it. There is a rhythm to sport. There is a like a music to a sport. Like even if you listen to somebody sprint, like it should sound rhythmic. If you look
Yeah,
at somebody jump, it should be a sort of a flow to it. If you look at a guy, do a Euro step in basketball, it should be a flow. It should be a bounce. It should be a rhythm to it. So I think now, so with me, because sometimes our outputs, I think in some of my high school athletes, they are hindered because of a lack of coordination. So we're doing things to, build that coordination, working those skipping in different planes, working, uh, let's jump off of this, jump here. Let's take a step here, jump here. Let's run forward, then turn backpedal. Let's backpedal, turn into a run. So trying to
I
build
think
that.
that's why I think that's why multi sports is so important for kids because they learn different types of movements and different sort of pathways to move through different sports. Swimmer isn't going to look the same as a basketball athlete. Basketball athlete isn't going to look the same and move the same as a tennis athlete. So it's having these different complexities of movements intertwined into one sport where they can then express their movement in different ways as well.
So I've had this conversation with some of our football guys, and I'm saying, like, the Division 1 level, like a lot of those guys, like I said, they came out of the womb. Like for me, I'm 5'8", but I have a 6 foot wingspan. Like I was 185 benching 225 10 times. Like that there, yeah, there's a bit of a blessing from God from that. But when you look at some your NAIAs, your D3s, and even some of your low level D2s, I was like, we can develop a lot of you into that, getting to that level. Maybe it is just you need to gain a step on your speed. Maybe it is you're lacking the strength. So just kind of getting them to understand, like, all right, let me just maximize who I am. I may not be a All American, whatever, but who's to say that I can't develop into being somebody that can, become a college athlete, especially now, like with the ability, you can go and walk on to school. Who knows? Maybe you're just a late bloomer. Maybe the genetic piece hasn't hit you yet. And your athletic peak is actually when you're 19. And us building that coordination base has actually made a school actually want to see because, you move well. Now you're
Hmm.
out of school, you've developed now, puberty's now you're going through puberty, and now you're projected to be a professional athlete. So it's just just trying to get them to understand this maximize who you are and what we are right now. I can't
100%.
I can't. I had a professor in Gardner Webb would say, if you want to be an elite level athlete, go back in time and pick your parents. He's like find make a time machine, go back, pick your parents. And it's like, yeah, that kind of sucks to hear. Who but that doesn't mean that you can't develop yourself into being a better athlete.
So that's a frequent argument I have with people is a lot of coaches put a massive emphasis on the genetics of the athletes and that's what's important. My parents aren't genetically gifted at all, but
Hmm.
I was managed to play and have trials and stuff for the Scottish squads. My brother, same thing. He's younger than me, but I was able to coach him, so he's better than me. He's a better athlete than me.
Yeah,
We had me as a coach, but our parents aren't genetically gifted. So how can we have gone to these places if we weren't genetically gifted? We worked
for sure.
fucking hard. We worked bloody hard.
I mean, and like I spoke about earlier, is that my best athletes are my best workers, and I think their careers are going to last a very long time because they put the effort into it. They understand this is where I need to get better. Like this is going to help me. This is going to help me get to the next level. Like I'm good now, but how good can I be by applying myself? So I think that's a dangerous combo where you combine that, we combine that talent, that natural gift with, with a good program, with a good work ethic, a good attitude. Like the sky's the limit.
100%. I agree fully. Because, yeah, I agree. I agree. What's your PR song? Always very curious on coaches' PR songs.
All right, so my best bench press was 380, 385. I want to say.
No, PR song. PR
Oh, PR
song.
song. I just said this is what it
Yeah.
was. My PR song. I was gonna list them all. My I don't know. I think when I'm put on by Young Jeezy is probably what I'm putting on because it's something about that song. I don't know. It's like every time you hear it, it's like the first time.
That's the first time. Nice. What's your songs for conditioning?
For conditioning, it's probably gonna be Nuck If You Buck.
Never heard of that.
You never heard Nuck If You Buck?
No.
Oh man, you if you go put Nuck If You Buck on right now, it'll make you probably go run a mile. It's a very like it's a fight. It's a song for fighting. It's for fighting. There's no doubt
How
about
do you
it.
spell it?
Nook like Knuck. If you buck, oh yeah, it's something about it. It like makes you like not want to stop.
By Lil Scrappy
Yes.
and
Yep.
Crime Mob.
Crime mob. Yep.
Okay, I got you.
So if I get tired in a workout, I'll turn that on and I'm like, all right, I'm ready to roll.
I'll give you that. I'll be listening to that afterwards. I've got to drive. Nice. No, I love getting people's coaches' songs. Again, old school coaches will go more the rock and heavy
Rock. Yep.
metal. You know what I'm
So
talking about.
yeah, so that's what when we back squat, we rarely back squat, but when we do, that's what I put on.
Nice. I'm a bit of a newer, and I like rap and hip hop a little bit more. So
Mhm.
like, if I'm PRing, hit 'em up, classic. Get that on.
That's a good one too.
I get fired up.
Sure, but so now me being the cool thing about being a young strength coach, the athletes I train, I'm actually in the same generation as them, which
Oh,
obviously helps. It helps me and hinders me. So music from like when I was in high school, if I turn it on, they're like, "Coach, please turn this off." But I'm like this song was hot. Like, what do you mean? Like, this is one of the
um,
best songs ever.
do you find it easier having athletes who are in the same generation as you?
Um, right now it's helping me because I'm still able to do what they do. Like I'm still able. What helps me a lot is that they know that I was an athlete. They know that I was at a high level. They know I would tell them I was a failed professional athlete. I wasn't a very good one, but I was still one. Um, so they know like I can when I'm telling them to do something that I actually can go and do it. Which this
Mm,
generation is very much like a show me. This Gen Z is very much like, all right, don't just tell me, show me. You
mm.
yelling at me, telling me do this and that. Well, I ain't never seen you do it. Well, like, well, I can't. So we talking about when no, we talk about the posterior chain. Like, so whenever I talk about RDLs, I'm like, all right, make sure you're going heavy. And I'm like, I did 515 on them the other day. And then, all right, coach.
Sure. What's some advice that you would give new strength and conditioning coaches wanting to come into this industry?
The biggest thing is find out what pushes you and surround yourself by really good people because this journey is a journey. Like it's gonna be some long nights. It's gonna be some days when you feel like you're not doing good enough. It's gonna be some days where you might cry yourself to sleep. It's gonna be some nights where you can't sleep. So you have to have that support system, but also understanding what's gonna drive you. Like if you're a big person that's big in relationships, like make it a key to build a relationship with all your athletes. If you're somebody that you love the biomechanics, dive into that biomechanics. If you're somebody that wants to be a speed guru, spend some time on your craft. Go sprint on your own, learn some things. But what's been great to me is like, so I went through a time earlier this year where I was going through a really rough time, and it's like right around that time is like as I was starting to come out of it. I mean, strength coaches from like I was just getting love poured on me because I had just did the Conjugate Chat podcast. I had just went and spoke at the North Carolina State Clinic, and it's like without like that network of strength coaches that just telling me, Coach, I love to hear you talk on Conjugate Chat. I loved when you did that. That's one of the coolest things about our program is like about the strength conditioning profession is that we are family. Like I love to go see the other team's strength coach when we go play. I'm like
Hmm.
it's a community, it's a family, and I would love that if the entire community could just embrace each other. Maybe you do see somebody doing something stupid. It's like, hey, let's try to figure out why this is stupid. Let's figure this out.
There's a couple coaches where I refuse to mention because of
I know I know
the
one right now. He popped in my head too. I know exactly what you're finna say.
um where it's just so negative all the time, and I'm just like, just let's just fucking be nice.
Yeah.
Doesn't take hard. And you've got those coaches where you'll probably know who I'm talking about too, that you look at their stuff and then you're like, Jesus fucking Christ,
Yes,
that's going to hurt someone. But
yeah.
it's just like it's. I love to hate on some of them, but at the same time, I would never be like, let me comment some fucking hate.
Yeah.
Like I don't care that much to spread the hate.
Yeah, but like even like I'm talking about, like having a support system is like If you have a
Yeah,
support system around you, somebody will tell you, "Hey, that's pretty stupid." So
yeah,
me
yeah,
being, first job as a strength coach, like this is so I started working while I was in school. So this is my spring of my senior year. So I still have 2 years left to play football. And I think I had posted a video of a guy, obviously just trying to look cool. He was standing on a Bosu ball and he was doing med ball slams. And I walked in our weight room the next day, and our strength coach was looked like he's gonna punch me in the jaw. And you know what I haven't done since then?
Booster
Med ball,
balls,
stand on
balls.
the Bosu ball. Yep.
No, I agree. I agree, and we're talking about the same person. We are
yep.
definitely talking about the same person.
Yep.
No, but like, I mean, I've been called out so many times, like by coaches I respect,
Uh-huh.
but not like in a dick way, but like in a, let's be fucking smarter here.
Yep.
That's you should know better. And I'm just
Yep.
like, yeah, I'll take that one on the chin.
I mean, that's what we do. Is we do the same thing. I can't to be a good coach. You have to also want to be coached.
Mhm.
Like I don't when I speak anybody, I'm like I don't have all the answers, and I never will. And sometimes it may be people in the room that are smarter than me, and that's fine. And I want to find those people, and I want to learn from them.
Mhm.
Like
It
once
goes
you
back
think
to
you have it
the
all figured out, you're far from it.
100%. It goes back to that ego thing that we were talking about. Like, if I'm in a room full of coaches, and I mean, I did this when I was presenting, I put up how I split a preseason when I had, so I had a preseason that was 4 weeks long. So I
Hmm.
had to prepare them for the whole season in 4 weeks.
Hmm.
It's fucking impossible, but I
Yes.
had to do it, right? That was my job. And I presented this to them in a way that was like, okay, you tell me what you would do first, split it down into these sections, and let's talk about it. At
Hmm.
the end, I put up what I did, and I was like, I want the same level of criticism from all of you. Tell me
Hmm.
where I fucked up. And they were like, they didn't want to give me anything, any
Hmm.
criticism. I was like, guys, I did it to you. This is what I then told them what I did wrong, and I went through my whole program and I picked it apart. I fucking tore myself to shreds. But it's that self analysis and self awareness that you have to have as a strength coach too. Like you need
Hmm.
to reanalyze what you did and what could be better, what you did really well, but as well like work through all these different things.
For sure. So that's what I was. My way I kind of check myself is like sometimes at the end of every block, I try to like poke a hole in my own programming. So one thing I did last year, so I talked to the guy I worked with at 1111, who I love dearly. He's one of my best friends. Like he, when I first got to 1111, he had already been there, and when they hired me, they basically said, "All right, he's in charge of all this. Antwan's going to write all these programs." Any most people would have been like, well, bump that. I'm gonna go leave and find another job. He stayed and this became like a sponge, and like now he's able to run a session by himself. Like he's growing as a coach himself. And I sat and looked at what we had written, and we were doing resisted sprints. So we were only doing time sprints for 10 yards, but we were doing sled sprints for 20. I was like, so what are we doing? I was like, why do we? I was like, that doesn't make sense. I was like, all right, let's go back and fix that. So now I do the same thing. I look at the end of every block. I'm like, let me look and see that I do something stupid that doesn't really make sense. Because if any coach says they didn't do anything stupid in a program they wrote, they're a liar.
Yep.
There's something you wrote that you're like, actually, that probably didn't make sense.
100%. Like, and the thing is, like, we all know funnel systems work big muscles, work down, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But sometimes you miss something. It's like, I have an athlete who has a terrible lower back. So I know I have to take some pressure off, but build it at the same time.
Hmm.
So sometimes I just throw shit, see if it sticks. But then I'll go back and I'm like, actually, that's a little bit on that cusp of being fucked.
I mean, I did something the other week where I, like I said, I guess it's the college football player in me. When somebody said labrum, I'm thinking shoulder.
Mm.
And so it's an upper body day, and she comes up to me like, my labrum, I had an issue with my labrum. So the whole time I'm thinking it's her shoulder. So I'm having her do like work her one arm, and then her PT messaged me like, yeah, yes, we got to get her our hip back to normal, this and that. And I'm like, oh, it was her hip labrum. I was like, but she never told me any different. So I just assumed. So I had her do
Nice.
all single arm movements for that whole day, and she didn't say anything. So I'm like, oh well, I need to apologize next time I see her. But
Yeah, self awareness is
yeah,
key. It is key. No, I appreciate you so much, Antoine, for coming on today.
I appreciate you having me on here for sure.
That's all good. If you let people know where they can catch you and sort of get some
My my
contact,
Instagram is what is my Instagram? Oh yeah, A McCray 48. So
I've got you.
AMC.
I've got you.
All right, AMCCRAY 48. My Twitter is AMAC AOM. So capital A, capital M, ACAOM. And yeah, that's the two platforms I post everything on.
No, thank you so much for coming on. It was
Yes,
a
sir. Thank
pleasure.
you.
Peace.